Athletes in our sports step on stage looking phenomenal, but everyone just assumes that's been the way it has been their entire life. No struggles, nothing in regards to confidence in the gym, but that's typically so far from the truth. And our next guest's story will inspire you in epic proportions because her journey to the stage and where she's at right now is incredible. Please welcome Christina Bryant. We are so happy to have you on our show.
Well, thank you. It's a blessing to be here. I appreciate that.
You are just amazing. Now, obviously, Linda and I know your story, but we've got to share your journey about how you even got interested, number one, in fitness, exercising, and why. So let's kind of take us back to back in the day, before you ever got started, the lifestyle you were living, and share with us kind of that transition into getting into the health and fitness world.
Well, I started back in 2015. I was in a divorce and ended up going in for health checks and things of that nature. And the doctor said, hey, at 28, your blood pressure is really high, your cholesterol, also your tipping the line at being pre-diabetic, and just a lot of other mental issues that come along with the woman going through a divorce. All those things said taking a toll, and I look up, I'm 270 pounds at 5'2", and it is kind of a sad feeling to have, but he gave me two options. He said either you start working out or you can start taking medication for the rest of your life. So my mom at the time was with me. She said, well, we're going to take these medications and put them here. Let's go walking. Wow. So I started walking. I was kind of embarrassed to go into a gym. I'm not even going to lie about that. Because I had those concerns of like, who's watching me? If anybody's staring at me, what would people think? And I honestly just didn't have a clue of what to do. So I started at the local trail there in my hometown of Warner Robins. I got down 50 pounds. And
just by walking?
Yeah, walking. And I didn't even have a clue of diet. So with diet, I learned on YouTube. I would go and I'd look at people meal prep and be like, okay, let's pick and choose what I think is healthy and consider a proper way to meal prep my food. So that's what I did.
So you did all of this outside of the gym. You took the initiative to go on YouTube and say, so tell us about what was it like eating, like prior to, like you getting there, like that habit of
getting there. So number one, learning how to manipulate food in your favor is definitely difficult, especially coming from South Georgia, or Middle Georgia area.
I see.
Where everything's fried, scrambled, smothered, cut in chunks. Okay, so taking the foods that I already have, but incorporating them in a healthy way. So making sure I had my carb, my vegetable, my fat, and my protein.
I see.
But what I lacked was the portion control. So I knew, okay, I can eat all these things. I just didn't have how much of those things I could eat.
So I see.
Yeah, so once I learned how to do that, that made the biggest difference on watching the weight on the scale change.
I see. So that was in the very beginning.
Yes.
You kind of broke it down, and at that point you learned the difference between the protein, carbohydrates, and fibrous carbs or fat.
Correct.
Okay. And so,
but started with just moving. I think that's what's so important is people think you have to go from 0 to 60 to make lasting changes, and you don't. I mean, just movement got you to lose 50 pounds, but then it's like it motivates you to go, okay, I want more. Then nutrition, your diet is crucial, and there's so much information out there, even though there's a lot of bad information. Again, just changing some habits and then learning, like you said, portion control. That I'm sure then just continued to increase your success. For sure.
I had a goal. I wanted to be able to fit into an actual bikini. I wanted to go on a girls trip and I wanted to look good. All my friends, they all were not necessarily in shape, but they had this beach body. I wanted to be able to sit with them on the beach in my two-piece too.
And not covered up.
Exactly.
Feeling
so I
confident.
did that. And it gave me a sense of pride on how hard I worked. And I said, well, what if I did it the extreme route and really put 100% effort into this, what would that look like for me? So I did that. I started going to a local gym, and there was a couple that actually owned a smoothie shop right next door.
Okay.
And I had got down another 40 pounds or so I was down 90 pounds. And I went in and got a smoothie. I said, hey guys, I'm hitting a plateau. I'm not really seeing any more changing in my weight. They said, well, come and lift with us and let's see what we can do to change that.
Okay.
Oh, amazing.
And once I picked up a weight, it was on there.
Yeah?
It was on there.
Did that help you have the confidence in the gym, going in with people who you were going to train with, where you didn't feel like, number one, everyone's staring at you, and number two, if you don't know how to use a piece of equipment, you're going to be able to have someone to ask? Was that the game changer with getting into the gym?
Later on it did, but because they own a personal studio, I didn't have to worry about the crowd or the people.
I see. So it was a personal training studio where you really like first started. I see. So you go from being afraid to go into a gym, walking outdoors, 30 minutes a day.
30 to 45.
30 to 45 minutes a day. Losing 50 pounds, then getting to a place of losing 90 pounds, plateauing, walking into a smoothie shop where they say, hey, listen, come on, welcome, like join us.
Yes.
So you didn't hire them. They were like welcoming, or did you hire them?
I actually hired them.
You hired them. Okay,
I went
very
for that
good.
one session and I was hooked. I was like, okay, what's your rates? Let's go ahead and let's get signed up.
Okay.
So I did
For
that.
you.
I did that for myself. I felt like that's something that I owed to myself. If I know that I want to be better and look different and achieve a goal, I'm going to have to break down and I'm going to have to get with people who know what they're doing.
Sure.
Yeah. So then, the norm is, because people always say this in the very beginning, like when they're overweight, they're afraid of weight. Weight training, strength training, and I think I read somewhere where your first exercise that you learned to love was chin-ups?
Yes.
And so did that happen at this personal training studio?
It did.
It did.
So that experience was kind of funny. So she straps this resistance band, the big bands, the longer bands, to an actual pull-up bar and was like, okay, you're going to stick one foot in here and you're going to pull yourself up. And at that time, I'm looking at her like, no, ma'am, I'm not going to pull myself up.
That's
How's
funny.
this going to happen? She's like, I'm going to hold your feet. I got you. Trust me. So I said, okay, I'm going to trust this lady with all this weight going up and down in the air. And I did it.
Yeah.
I practiced.
Yeah.
I practiced every time we finished our sessions. I said, okay, we're going to be able to get to 5 by this day.
Oh,
We'll be able to
wow.
get to 10 by this time. After that happened, after consistently doing it week over week, I didn't even need the resistance band as assistance anymore. I was able to do that on my own.
Which all of this for me is like so amazing, because I remember learning, like one of my first exercises is doing chin-ups, and man, one of the hardest ever, ever.
It's not usually the favorite exercise.
No, and especially if you're like over 150 pounds or 100, because you're moving your own weight. So at that time, you were still you're not 150, not 160, 170 weight.
No.
What are you, like 190?
I give it about 190.
190 pounds doing chin-ups. And I'm
loving it.
And loving it. Because for me, like my first thought, like when it was time to retire, I said, never again. I don't have to do chin-ups ever. And that was the first thing that and I have not done a chin-up. Like now, because I'm like, I don't have to do that anymore. But that's really impressive that you learned to love chin-ups, and you got, I think, like to the place of being able to do 10.
Yes, consistently, just over and over. Okay, every day, add a little bit more, add a little bit more, because it did become so overwhelming. When I looked at that resistance band and that bar, and she's telling me, you got to do this. Okay, well, how am I going to do this consistently to get to like what I see? Because believe it or not, they were Marines. So that's what they're used to doing.
Yeah.
It was nothing for them.
Wow.
So how do I get to like them? And she said, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be like yourself. I want you to be able to do what you can do.
Wow.
So that kind of took the load and pressure off a lot.
So this whole journey started in 2015.
Yes.
But now you're an athlete in the IFBB. So how did that come about?
So their plan was to get me ready for a show. For whatever reason, they closed down and they left. So I had to go out and I had to hire another coach. I moved down to a small city called Valdosta, Georgia. I started getting ready there. And I said, I see a lot of coaches that are actually successful in Atlanta. And I reached out to a coach there in Atlanta at the time, and I said, I want to do a show. I'm really wanting to do this. He said, well, let's do it. So fast forward, I do my first show ever, which was in the IMBF, that natural circuit there in Savannah, Georgia. And I took first. Believe it or not.
Took first.
First, wow.
Yeah. So this is at how many years like
2017.
between the first weight loss all the way? So
3 years.
So within 3 years, you go from wanting to be in that bikini on the beach to now being comfortable to say, I want to be on the stage in front of the bright lights. And go girl.
So 2017, I did my first show, IMBF. The only reason we couldn't get our pro cards at the time was because we didn't have enough athletes. It was only 3 of us. So the coach, she said, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. Let's go over to the NPC. I think you'll do well. So my first 2 shows, I got 3rd in my first show ever, which was Lee Haney Games in 2017. And then I took 4th at the Border Clash there in South Carolina. And at the time, the coach that I had, he knew how to get the body fat off, but to maintain the muscle at the same time was where we were having the issue.
I see.
So I got with another coach, and I don't want people to think, oh, she coach hops, but when it's time to move on and move to someone that can get you to that next level. It is what it is. So I got with my coach that I had, and he said, we're going to try to go for Lee Haney again, but we're going to go for overall. Because I really do think that you can be a professional at this.
Wow.
So we set out to do that. In 2018, I took the overall at Lee Haney Games. And I was ready to do a national show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we have some more questions for you. We're going to take a short break, but we also have some photos that we're going to bring up right when we get back after this short commercial break.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
So Christina, welcome back. We have photos now that are pretty impressive to see where you started, and then obviously some stage photos as well. So one question I have is, your goal was to get in a bikini on the beach.
Correct.
Then it turned into bikini on the stage. So what is the mindset? What are your feelings from, because those are 2 totally different things.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking when you're on the beach in your bikini, finally, you achieved that goal, and then stepping on stage in a competition bikini and you achieved that goal? Where was your mindset at?
First getting into the bikini for the beach was, oh girl, you did that.
Yeah.
Okay, you did that.
I love it.
I think it's, once we get to that goal, a lot of times, I know at least for me as being a competitive athlete, we forget to do this.
Yes.
A lot. So making sure that I clapped for myself at that moment because I had just went through a complete lifestyle change. So giving myself that credit and saying, okay, what's next? And not just sitting in that moment. Then getting to the actual stage, I was told once I got to that level, you can really do well in this sport. Like genetically, you're gifted to do well in this sport. So I listened, and I'm grateful that I listened, and I tapped into what was on the inside of me to say, all right, let's push forward and see what the next level is.
Sure.
So that's where my mindset was when it came to competing. I did that one show and said, all right, I think we're pretty good at something. Let's see what we can do.
So you just quickly and easily embraced this whole weight training. Like, you didn't, at no point did you ever have the thought or misunderstanding what weight training does versus what cardio or your diet? Did you question that?
I did at when I first started because I was just like, I don't want to. Of course, we all hear this and Bob heard.
Right, and that's why I want you to express this, because this is a common issue or thought.
Especially
with women.
After dropping weight, the last thing you want to do is get bulky and big, which people don't realize that's not easy.
So in order for me to, in anything that I do, and I have to let people know this, in anything that I do, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to be the best at it. I'm going to do my best at it. So knowing that I was 270 pounds and I'm having to lose fat, and not just the outer fat, but intramuscular fat, all those types of things, I'm going to have to go to the extreme and cut weight really hard. Once I see what my physique looks like up under this shell, then we can start building muscle the proper way. Once I learned that over time with the proper coaching, I knew that, okay, I'm not going to look this masculine or look this certain way. I'm going to look how my body is supposed to look if I put on muscle the proper way.
Sure.
So that was the mindset that I had. It's like, all right, how do we be the best at this the right way? How do we do this and not run in a hamster wheel and spin my wheels?
Yeah. So did you go right into the traditional, like separating body parts on day one, you know, training chest and triceps, day 2, legs, day 3 off, day 4?
I did.
So you went from like, what type of like strength training? Like, was it, you know, just from push-ups to straight that?
So it went from me doing the pull-ups with the resistance band to actually having a training split with the coach that I had when I got my pro card. He said, okay, kid, your legs are your gift and your curse.
Okay.
So in order for us to be able to be competitive, you're no longer just going to train legs on one day a week. I need you to separate hamstrings this day, glutes this day, quads this day. Okay. So that's how we started to develop a training split that worked for me.
Okay.
And that's when I was able to see the development in my legs, because I made sure I went in and I handled my business on those days. That was the thing that I had to do.
Okay. And then, so it's here, like, you learn squats, you did free weights, and doing
the proper form.
Form.
And I think because the coach that I had at the time was a power lifter, the only training that he knew was hard and heavy. So that's how I learned how to train hard and heavy.
I see.
So I knew
the basics, the foundations, the squats, the deadlifts, the bent over barbell rows or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let's discuss your competition history, because obviously we left off earlier, you won the overall at Lee Haney's show. You were ready for a national show. So take us through that. What are the next steps for you from there?
So after Lee Haney Games, my coach said, okay, we can go straight to Miami Nationals, or we could take a year off. I decided to take a year off because I wanted to be competitive. I didn't just want to show up.
Sure.
So I took that year off. We developed even more in my legs and my upper body, and we went to Junior Nationals there in Chicago. That was a really exciting time for me because my dad actually got to come and see and sit in the audience and see what I do. You know, so I get there and everybody's ready at a national show. Everybody comes to play. Everybody
they're ready to win.
So I get to nationals and I don't get moved out of the center box. And I'm
so you make obviously your first call, and they move you to the center, and you already know the importance of being there, and then not being moved.
Correct.
Okay.
So not getting moved, I was just like, oh, well, this is going the way that I wanted to go. So let's keep going. So of course it's a 2-day show. And what a lot of athletes don't realize is, of course, your prejudging look is the look that is what the judges see when you first come out. So that next day, when it's time for finals, you still got to be able to hold that look from that night before to the next day, and that can be tricky.
Absolutely.
So we ended up holding the look, and I ended up getting called for Class A winner. I was so excited I knocked my number off. Bob Ciccarello was like, girl, you won, you're number 1. Don't worry about the number. Don't worry about the number. It's okay.
You are already.
So that was a very exciting moment. In my head, I was like, okay, you've arrived. You're at this point. So now, where do I go from here? Because you start back at the bottom again. You start in the pros.
And it's rare to get your pro card at your first national show.
That
is
absolutely.
Anyone out there, this is not normal. That's amazing.
That's what I've heard. I even heard from in the past, where it was really hard to get a pro card, period.
Absolutely.
Back in the day, you know, people, years and years.
Yep, that's the norm.
They come up. So to actually win my pro card and say, okay, you've established yourself, now what's next? I ended up getting with a coach out of LA, and my physique morphed. I grew. Everything grew. And I did my pro debut there in Chicago, the middle of COVID.
Yes.
I did like everybody else. I was either sneaking in the back door of a gym somewhere.
Yes.
Or I was training in a friend's garage. But I knew that I wanted to make my pro debut. But I also knew that my lower body was not developed to be able to stand on the stage with pros. You know, as an amateur, it's one thing, but when you get up there with your Heather Grace and Jeannie Felderman, women like that, those girls are top notch every time they come to a show. So I want to be able to stand up there next to them too. And my coach said, all right, okay, I know that you admire these women, but you are no longer going to have to admire them. You finna stand next to them.
That's right.
So let's get ready.
That's right.
I did that in Chicago, and I felt really confident within myself because I placed third at my pro debut. I was center box the whole morning. And then that evening, even to be in the top 5, I was amazed. Like, I don't know if people were looking for me to be upset because I wasn't first, but I wasn't. I was just happy to be amongst those great women.
I was there. I saw it. You handled your own. You held your own.
So fast forward from that, the development was to keep coming in tighter. But what I do want people to understand is that 270 pounds, once you lose the body fat, you still have skin. So that is one thing that works against me as a competitor, is making sure that I fill in the areas where the skin was with muscle. So I'm constantly having to reevaluate how I train. Your physique is going to morph every year. So being able to pinpoint those areas, like, okay, where your glutes are starting to fill in here, but you could do more of this to add more to it. So that's where I ended up in 2021 at Omaha. I didn't come in as tight as I wanted to, but I also knew that I had grew again. I went from 140 pounds to 151 pounds on stage.
I see.
So of course, being able to learn how to dial new muscle in without compromising it is something that we definitely had to learn.
So you've done three pro shows: Omaha, Chicago, and Tampa.
And Tampa. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, all big ones. Tampa and Chicago. Big.
Well, I was always taught, and always, even I would hear Margie and a couple of other competitors say, you know, if you want to know how well you're going to do, do a big show.
Don't shy
Actually
away.
Go where the competition is. That's how you know you match up.
And in the women's physique division, again, we were just talking about it. It's like the numbers are deep. So it's not easy. I mean, I look at the women physique competitors, and they are like super conditioned, like turn into the rear, and it's like, whoa. You know, I don't see this a lot of times on bodybuilders now. You know, we get a little bit comfortable. But that's just really impressive.
Yes, ma'am. Trying to make sure that I just stay on point in off season is the one key that I always try to tell people.
Okay.
I know at my level and where I came from, it's easy for me to pack on weight. So I have to stay within a structured plan in the off season. I do have the opportunity where I do get to have free meals here and there, but I try to keep them to a minimum because I don't want to have to go through what I went through fighting to get weight off again. It's not fun.
So your relationship with food has obviously changed drastically, and coming to the point pre-2015 when that was probably your comfort food and you were going through all these life changes, have you had a chance where you, or not a chance, but one of those days where you just pulled back and you kind of fell into that old lifestyle and had to pull yourself out of it? Or are you so consistent because you refuse to go back that way?
I have. I've had those moments, and then I reel myself back in real quick because I start feeling sick. You can only do it for so long. I know after a show, I try to give myself at least 2 to 3 days just to be normal. What I mean by normal is to enjoy a hamburger without feeling like, oh God, I gotta go work this off, or to enjoy ice cream or spend time with my family and sit down and have a regular dinner. You know, I try to give myself those moments, but then I also know to reel it back in after so many days. And your physique plays a role in that too. After a show, your body's gonna suck up everything that you're eating.
Yes.
And it can either go one or two ways. It can work in your favor and you bring it tighter, or you can fill up like a whale. It's going to have two ways.
It looks like it's an advantage for you that even though it's a long place where you had to come from to be overweight to experience that, but I think like with new competitors, like it's very easy to, after the competition's over with and they've like achieved this look, to kind of like just go all out and overindulge, and then they go through, and then before you know it, they spend the off season being too heavy, and then when it's time to go and compete, they can't like reel it back in fast enough. So do you feel like for you, that was an advantage? You learned and you understand that.
I did learn that, and I also learned that I'm the one in control of clicking purchase this brownie, send to my house. I'm the one in control of making sure that after the show, I don't have this mass amount of food at home that I'm going back to. I make sure that I have meals prepped. So after the day or two after the show, when I'm enjoying myself, meals are already prepared, and I don't have to worry about trying to figure out what's this and that. I go straight back to my meal plan, and I'm fine. You just have to be prepared. I've always taught myself that, and that bodybuilder lifestyle has trickled over into my everyday lifestyle. So I'm prepared more when I have meetings or homework or things of that nature. I set myself up with tasks when I wake up in the morning all the way to the end of the night. So that stuff just trickles over into life.
It becomes an art.
Yes.
You are doing very well at and mastering.
Yes, it's difficult at times, but this is things that I've asked for and I prayed for. So it's kind of hard to complain for something that you've asked for and prayed for. God doesn't tell you how he's going to give it to you. So you got to be prepared when he does give it to you.
Well, we're prepared for some more questions. We're going to take another commercial break. We'll be right back with more questions for Christina.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on Trifecta.
So Christina, we have seen photos of your transformation, but in your whole weight loss journey, were there people who were not completely supportive, who just kind of wanted to say, nope, you're doing too much, you're going too extreme, and tried to sway you from your goals?
So my family has been the biggest people with opinions, I guess you could say.
Yes.
I think with my grandmother, because she's from the old school, so she's not used to seeing a woman in this light. So when she sees me, she's very supportive because she knows that I love it, but it's also not something that she's excited or ecstatic about. Normally when she sees me get ready for a show, her first words are, oh baby, you just look so you just look so hungry. So she's always trying to feed me. She's always trying to
sabotage.
Feed me. Oh yes. But even when I would go and sit down for Sunday dinners and I'm having to bring my own food versus eating the food that she's cooked, she would get offended at times. Well, when did my food get nasty? It's not nasty, man. I promise it's not nasty. It's just I can't eat that anymore. That's not my lifestyle anymore.
It's hard for anyone who's not in the industry to understand that. It's just one meal. But they don't understand when you're on a program, you're on a protocol, especially with where you came from. You don't want to start these habits again. And so it's even more important, but it is hard for you to stay strong. And those family dinners, those are rough when you're dieting.
It's your birthday, and they feel like you're supposed to. You can't have a piece of cake.
Yeah.
It's your birthday.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I find myself at times, especially when I'm getting closer to a show, I just won't go.
Yeah.
I won't participate. I'll send my love through my family or like my parents and things, but I just won't go. Just so I don't have that desire. I'm not there miserable watching everybody else eat barbecue.
And hearing the negativity, of like, non-support. Yes.
So were they initially, I mean, when you lost that first 50 pounds, how did they feel about that? Obviously, because you said your mother is the one that said, let's go walking.
Yes.
And you guys started walking. So how did she feel about that?
She's supportive. She's very
you.
supportive. To see me actually do something and stick all the way through and keep going, that's the biggest thing for her. I was the only child growing up, so I had a lot of different opportunities and avenues, from learning to play the drums to the piano, but I never stuck it out.
Okay.
So to see me actually stick something out and accomplish something and finish it through, I think that's been her biggest thing.
So did others in your family, did they also change their habits? Now she's exercising, did she change her diet just a little bit?
So now I'm going to tell you why she's changed her diet. My mom got diagnosed with breast cancer the beginning of last year.
Okay.
So she understood what I kept trying to tell her is, Mom, certain things can lead to health issues. I'm not saying that your eating and your diet cause you to have breast cancer, but it doesn't help. With that. So when I meal prep my food, I meal prep her food.
Really?
Yes. I make sure she has her meals and what she needs when she goes off to work. And I'm grateful for my godmom. After her treatments and everything, she was able to kind of nudge her a little bit and say, okay, let's go to the gym. So she goes and does her thing after work, and I go and do my thing after work.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah.
Wow.
Having that positive impact.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And I'm sure your story inspires so many people, because again, whether they want to ever compete or step on stage, but just knowing where you were at in life, you had these health issues that were really dictating your future, and you made that change at a young age. It's not like you're 55 going, oh, I've lived a good life, whatever, I'm just going to keep doing me.
Right.
But you made a change, and now for anyone who wants to kind of take that healthy route or step on stage, you're a resource. And more importantly too, like you mentioned, having the loose skin.
Yes.
Those are things that as you step on stage now, and it's not even just the women who lose weight, like it could be surgeries, it could be C-sections, whatever it is. There's scars. We all have our flaws. It becomes an art of trying to hide the flaws.
Absolutely.
What advice do you have for somebody who may be in your situation, has lost a lot of weight and has that lack of confidence because of skin that may be, a little extra in certain areas of their body? What advice do you have? What experiences have you had kind of dealing with that?
So the experiences are this: I am taped and glued for the gods on stage. Okay, the ladies backstage, yes, the ladies backstage that do our tans, they make sure that my suit fits right. Also, I work with my suit designer and make sure that this is where I'm at. This is what it's going to look like. This is what we need to fix and take in. But for women, I always say, allow yourself moments of grace because you did the work.
Yes.
So don't beat yourself up about something you can't control unless you want to go up under the knife, unless you want to have other cosmetic surgeries and things of that nature to get rid of it. You can't complain about something you're not going to be willing to change. If you don't like it, unfortunately, you have to accept it. And then you have to say, okay, what am I going to do to fix it? But the skin is going to be there. You either fill it up with muscle or you have the cosmetic surgery to get rid of it. I embrace it. It's my how can I say, my battle scars.
Yes.
So from the stretch marks to the skin, I'll take it off.
That's a great perspective,
Isn't
though,
it?
too. It's like,
great.
don't complain about
Impressive.
it. Either do something about it or accept it. I mean, that could relate to so many aspects in life.
You'll beat
like
yourself
that.
up trying to worry about something that you have control over. You just got to do it,
And what people, I think, fail to realize, too, is the confidence. When you step on stage, if you're confident, people aren't looking for flaws, but you can see it, you can feel it, or, if you're on the beach in a bikini and you're talking about the loose skin, oh, I didn't even notice until you're pointing it out. So don't point out your flaws. Be confident.
Most people make other people uncomfortable because they beat up on themselves.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's so cool because you guys are up on stage looking totally confident and everything's perfect in place, and it's nice for people to know that each of us just have to really, you have to work at your presentation, do everything in your power that's within your control as far as your nutrition, as far as your presentation, knowing your angles when you're on stage, and you really work. You make it look simple and you look relaxed, but you worked very hard for that simplicity, for that peace and for that confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know what my angles are and what my money shot is on stage.
Yes.
So I work the angles and I work that
What's
money shot.
What's your money shot?
My money shot would probably be my side tricep.
There you go.
I love it.
That's my favorite pose of all time.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. It's a beautiful.
Or the old school side tricep, turn to the side and give it the glutes and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
So was it easy for you to transition into like learning like the posing? Because it's just like such a.
Yeah.
I want the guys to put the picture up of you again of the before and after, and just such a huge, like, you know, difference from being like, okay, I'm going to be on the beach, that's my goal, and now I'm going to be on stage with the bright lights, like. You can see everything.
Yeah, those stage lights.
What a lot of people don't know is I used to be a theater kid. I was into like one-act plays and things of that nature in high school. So to get in front of a big crowd isn't what makes me nervous.
Oh, that's good.
I black out and I do my thing. And then I come back and I'm Christina and know what's going on. So that part isn't a problem, but I sucked at posing when I started.
Okay.
Because I overthought it.
Okay.
I thought I got to do this and I moved like a robot. I was super stiff. It just didn't look good. I got with Kenny Wallach. And when Kenny Wallach dropped them hips,
he worked with some of the best.
And he does his thing. It makes you feel confident, and you know what to do after that.
Yeah.
So that was my second ever posing coach.
Yeah, because I was curious. I mean, when I look at the picture of you, you know, before, and I see you confident on stage, I'm like, where did that come from? Like, that had to still be inside of you when you were overweight. So what did you said you were in theater. And
yes, ma'am.
So you've always had that, like, being comfortable being in front of people. So you were comfortable in your own skin. It wasn't that what made you make the change is when you went to the doctor. He said you're 28 years of age and, you know, high blood pressure and possible diabetes. And so you had that, obviously.
It was already there.
Yeah.
It started there. It started there. Yeah. So when I look at the picture of you before and after, like, there's such a big change. You were talking about how your grandmother, like, initially, to be muscular, you know, because I know my parents initially, they were like, okay, I don't really understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, your upper body's really changing, and it was masculine, it was different. But my mom and dad, they always really supported me. Did you find that, like, the general public, like, if you walk into a grocery store and you're overweight, like, what's the response now walking into a grocery store and you've got biceps and triceps and you present an image of strength and power?
So I can say this, and I've had this conversation before, especially with my mentee, about the way that you carry yourself and how people will see you, no matter if you're big, small, whatever. I have noticed that overweight people, they do get treated differently from applying for jobs. Does it make it right? No, but you do get treated differently. They look at overweight people as if they may be lazy or they're not this, they gonna have health issues.
Wow.
All these different things they look at when they think of being out of shape and overweight. If I transition it over to bodybuilding, I get mixed reviews. I was telling Sheena this morning we were doing our cardio, I said, you know, I could count on two hands yesterday where I got a hello, sir, or yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
No, sir. And after a while, it doesn't bother you anymore because a lot of people, they don't understand or they're curious or they just don't know. Does it make it right? No, it's rude, of course. But I know that has nothing to do with me. It's their lack of understanding.
Yes.
The confidence level, like I said, was there when I was big, and it's there now where I am. I'm just more sure of myself now. When I walk into a room, it's not my problem that you don't like muscle. That's something you have to figure out and get over. Because when I wake up in the morning, I don't think about me having muscle. I just wake up in the morning, brush my teeth, and go do my cardio.
Yeah.
You know, so knowing who you are and being sure in who you are in this sport as a female, you have to practice that every day. You have to speak to yourself with confidence and positivity every day. If not, it will affect you when people say something the wrong way.
Well, it's common sense. People know you don't comment on anyone that's overweight. That's rude.
Right.
However, it's not even known it's rude to comment on a female that's got muscles. They're just like, they feel, I need to tell you, you're huge.
Yes.
And you're like, really? That's a compliment. Thank you. I've been working really hard on this.
And you do get the positive too. You know, you do get women who pull you to the side and they're like, oh my God.
Right, yeah.
You know, wow, you look beautiful. Or, you know, you get guys and be like, yeah, you work really hard. You know, you do get those positive comments
Embrace
too.
that, yes. Just only response is, well, guess what? I'm not looking this way for you.
Right,
So
right.
I don't really care what your opinion is. But
That part.
It's such an interesting dynamic on how people feel that their opinion matters to complete strangers.
Yeah.
One of these days we'll get it under control. Or not, and we'll just be like, whatever.
And then you have to think about it too. Only 1% of the world competes in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I'm a part of the 1% of some of the best people, athletic people on the planet. So to be able to walk into a room and not even open my mouth and exude that kind of presence around people,
that power.
it's very powerful.
It is.
Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask. What do you like most about being a muscular specimen? Like, what do you love about it the most?
Being able to walk into a room and not say one word and change the temperature in the
That's
room.
it, girl.
Oh, that's amazing. I love
To be able
that.
to do that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. So what are your plans for competition in 22?
22 is to do the Savannah Pro.
That's right.
That's on stage.
You know that show.
Do my female bodybuilding debut there.
Okay.
And at the Savannah Pro and see where I stack up. And then just go from there.
Yeah.
As far as competing, and I graduate college come the end of July.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, healthcare administration. So I've been
Congrats.
working on that behind the
All
scenes.
while you're trying to prep it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I work a full-time job.
Yes.
So all those
And I
things.
do know that.
love it.
Yeah, which is
Good for
great.
you.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
you're saying it can be done on 800 different levels. Wow.
Oh, yes, but you have to be prepared.
Yeah.
I'm truly goal-oriented from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed at night. I have to be that way.
Wow.
Pretty impressive. So you've got some fun ahead of you in the next several months.
Yes, yes,
Ooh, exciting to see.
yes.
Yeah. Well, you've inspired a lot of women out there to let them know that, you know, you start out on that journey and wanting to just get into a bikini, but without question, you're the first that I've sat and interviewed that from 270 pounds, wanting to be in a bikini on the beach, to actually being on the IFBB Professional League stage with the bright lights and doing it right,
Doing it well.
and successful. You know, congratulations, and we look forward to what you will bring this year.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Christina. So from Christina Bryant and Linda Murray and Whitney Jones, another great episode of FemFlex Friday.